Hi everyone, I think we will just make a start now. It's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Just got a few things to run through before we start. Just the usual, as some of you will be aware of. We'd really appreciate it if you could mute your microphone when the presenters are speaking. The chat pane will be there, so if you want to ask questions as we go through the presentation, or any comments, again appreciated, or raise your hand. And just a reminder that the session is actually being recorded, as you might have seen when you joined. So we are lucky enough to have a range of presenters today. If I can just move on. So our session today is all about GLOW. My name's Dawn Adams and I'm from the GLOW team at Education Scotland. I'll really just be hosting the session. We've got Marie Grant, Sean Stratton, Fiona Stewart and Dale Murphy, who will just be talking through some of the things that they've been doing with various different tools in GLOW. So we're actually going to start with Marie, and she's going to talk about her journey with GLOW blogs. So I will just stop sharing my screen and hopefully hand over to Marie in a moment.
Thanks, Dawn. Hello, everybody. As Dawn said, I'm Marie Grant. I am at Broadalbin Academy. I'm not Scottish. I'm from New Zealand, and I've been working here for 4 years and previously at Pitlochry for 14. So I'm a seasoned primary teacher, but completely new to blogging. So last year I had an interesting, and you all know what that means, interesting class of 29 primary sevens. And I decided to have a go at writing poetry in a slightly different way. So I had a look at some work online and found some really good poems, and then was thinking about, what can we do with the poems? Are we just going to read them ourselves and share them in the class, or should we do something different with them? And then I came across GLOW blogs. So I'm going to show you what we did last year and some of what we've started this year. So if you could just give me a wave when you can see my screen, so I know everyone can see it. Everyone see that?
Yep,
Dawn,
we can.
yeah, great, thanks, Dawn. I was hoping someone would give me a thumbs up. Okay, so this is one of the blogs that I've created. And I knew nothing about GLOW blogs before last year. I'd not created any web pages before. I'm reasonably tech savvy, and I'm good at fixing things on people's computers, but I had not done any blogging. So it's not, when I first thought about it, I thought, okay, right, am I ready for this? Can I manage this? And it turns out it's not difficult at all, and there's lots of help available. When I first went on, I just found GLOW on a tile on my launch pad and clicked on it, and that brought me to this page where it says create a blog. So it's pretty much as simple as that, and now I've got a few going. This help site is fantastic. It pretty much gives you videos and talks you through lots of technical aspects. And an amazing guy called John Johnson, he will help you with everything tech, and he doesn't tell you in tech speak, he tells you in normal speak. And he's helped me with lots of different bits and pieces, and you can just post on here if you're stuck with something or you're a complete beginner. You can watch the videos and get started. So what we'd started off with is just writing poems in class. We'd use a model poem that was really good, and the children would listen to that, and we'd talk about what they thought was interesting about it or what they thought was unusual about it, and then we'd just write. We'd write in our jotters, we'd write on the computer. Some people had help if they had sort of literacy difficulties. And what I found was it was really interesting after having 2 periods of remote learning, quite a lot of health and well-being issues, quite a lot of mental health stuff that I haven't seen before. But by writing poems, they were talking about how they felt without really realizing they were doing that. So these ones here are called table poems, and the poem model that we used was by a man called Edip Canserva. So I've written And what I do for most of the poems we write is write a little introduction. And then these are all poems that have been published by the pupils independently on the blog. So I've got a link here to his poem online. And then what they do is they create a new page. This is my sort of backdoors version. So the pupils themselves log on. They're all users on the site and editors, and then they just click on not edit page, new page. And that gives them a new page to write on. They put a title and they write their poem in. And when they've written their poem, they go down here to parent and they find the parent page, which is the menu item that I've created for them. So I'm just going to show you a couple of poems by some of the primary sevens. These are all primary sevens from last year. So this one is by a boy called Robert. He's pretty academic, you know, quite quiet otherwise. You know, he's reasonable at writing, but he came up with some absolute crackers. This one got a little bit of attention online when we tweeted it, and I'm going to read it to you. A little clarity. A boy filled with the worry of a new school dumped his bag on the floor. His bag filled with lunch, juice, jackets and jumpers. He dropped the wet from outside on the floor. He dropped the tension from the test on the floor. He dropped the sounds of ticks and crosses on the floor. He grabbed the rays of sun before the rain flushed it away and dropped it on the floor. The boy rummaged round in his bag to see if there was anything left. He found a little clarity, and he didn't drop this on the floor, for this was too precious to drop, so he clutched it tight and felt all of his worries, regrets and sadness fall out of his body onto the floor. So I was pretty surprised at the poems that I got when I did this project, and I haven't quite figured out, was it the publishing that made them more enthusiastic to write more poems, or was it just that they could go home and look at them themselves? Our blog is hardly followed by anyone. It's got a few comments from teachers and from other pupils, and the occasional person online has commented and provided some poems for the blog as well. But I think it's just the sense of ownership that they got from being able to publish their own work. When after they've finished putting poems online, so we might have sort of an afternoon for them to type up and publish, I would go through and just make sure everyone's put everything in the right place. Sometimes they paste them to the wrong page, or sometimes they make a post instead of a page, and so I do tidying up. But pretty much all of the poems that you see on the blog are typed independently and published independently by the pupils, and for me that was great. You know, I'm not putting their work online, they're putting their work online, and it was always a choice. You know, we would work on a poem, and then they would choose if they wanted to publish it. It was completely up to them. But interestingly, with a class of 29 pupils, I had quite a few quite complex characters, and they all published across the year. Some published every poem we did, some published one poem we did, and then everything in between. But there wasn't anyone that said, no, I'm not publishing, which I found interesting, because normally you get that if you say who wants to share their poem, a few children will be keen, but not everyone. But this wasn't sharing out loud, this was sharing online, and they're all used to online. I had a pupil last year who told me that they were gender fluid. They had a lot of complex emotional and behavioural issues. They didn't want to use their own name because they weren't comfortable with that. And so I said to them, would you rather publish as anonymous, or do you even want to put any poems online? And they said, yes, they did. They did want to put a poem online, but they didn't want to use their own name. So what we decided to do with that was change their name by editing their profile. So that's quite easy for the pupils to do. They can use a nickname, but this pupil decided to use anonymous, and we talked about what that meant. And for me, that was really powerful. They were going through quite a lot in class and quite a lot at home, but they still wanted to be the same as everyone else in the class, and they wanted to publish their work, even though it was just them reading it and their classmates reading it. So they used anonymous. And that for me said that's, you know, that's important and that's powerful. So lots of work here from last year. at the end of the year, we did a little anthology. We didn't sell it to anyone. I just gave all the pupils a copy. And I said to them, right, you're going up to S1, you know, you're not going to be interested in this anymore. Shall I just sort of delete it or sort of put it in the background? And they said, no, please keep it. We want to still look at it. So that's still live and still sitting there. I don't know how long they'll look at it for, but I'll leave it there for a wee while. And we started a new blog with a new set of pupils. So we've just used some different pictures. I've had pupils giving me photos. This was a photo taken by a pupil for a homework task. And we've had lots more sort of black and white photos added in, and they've just sort of started on the journey. So what's going to be really interesting for me this year is to see, are they as keen as last year's lot? Was it just my initial enthusiasm, or is this just a genuinely good thing to do? I know lots of teachers and head teachers and deputies use blogs as school web pages, but for me, the opportunity for them to be editors on the blog and publish on the blog independently and take control of that as Primary 7 pupils was the most important thing, and the thing that they seem to like doing and be keen to do. So we've got quite a few poems published already, and I'm sharing that with parents this week, asking them if they want to have a look or comment, and sharing the occasional one on Twitter or the school's Facebook page, but mainly it's just for us to work on together. So I think that was quite a whirlwind tour. I'm not sure where I am with time, Nia. I'm hoping you're going to tell me.
That was you, bang on 10 minutes, Marie.
Oh, well, there you go.
Perfect.
I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions, they could post them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them.
That was fantastic, Marie. It's great. I mean, I had a look at the blog before, but it's really just the importance of the ownership, and some of the creations were just amazing. So really appreciate the time to actually look at the pupils taking ownership of that. And we've seen lots of school websites, but really it's such a great resource, and hopefully something you'll be able to go on and use again and learn from. So I don't know if there's any questions at the moment. A few comments there, which is great.
Yeah, there's just comments. So I thought if no one had any questions, I would read a poem, not from the kids, from someone else. Now this is a poem by a poet I've just found recently, Brian Bilston. Now next week, I don't know if anyone knows, it is National Poetry Day on Monday, and it is also Scottish Maths Week next week, and this poem is perfect. And I would encourage anyone who's not written poems themselves or with pupils to read this on Monday, because it is about the Fibonacci sequence. And for those of you that don't know, Fibonacci goes 1, 1, 2, 3. So the previous two numbers are added together for the next number. So this is a poem about Fibonacci. I wrote a poem on a page, but then each line grew by the word sum of the previous two, until I started to worry, all these words coming with such frequency, because as you can see, it can be easy to run out of space when a poem gets all Fibonacci sequency. So thank you very much to Brian Bilston for that, and I hope you have enjoyed looking at my blog. And if anyone would like to ask me any questions later, please let me know by contacting me on my school website or school email. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Marie. We are going to hand over to Sean now, who will be talking a bit about Glow blogs, but there might be some other areas of Glow that we'll be exploring as well. So we'll just hand over to him. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks very much. Hi there. That was great, Marie. I learned a lot there. That was fantastic. You're a beginner? I don't think so. That was very good. Anyway, moving on. Hi there. My name's Sean Stratton. I've been teaching for a while now, and I've been teaching with blogs for a while. I'm a computing teacher by trade. I've been on Glow since ages, since Glow was horrible, because it's much better now. I much prefer using WordPress and using blogs rather than the sort of more traditional HTML and CSS. I know there's a big pushback towards that now, but I like how easy it is. I like the way that anyone can publish anything. I love the thought that of things being available that I publish, not just to my pupils in the class, but to people everywhere. So kind of focused on that at the moment. So what kind of blogs have I done? Well, I've blogged everything. We've all, I'm sure, got a school website, which is a blog. We've got departmental blogs, at least in my school. Every department has one that's linked to the school website. We've got blogs for classes and blogs for subjects, and blogs for training, blogs for doing surveys. We set up one when we had a school redesign where the pupils all got a chance to contribute ideas and thoughts, and we put all their stuff up in a blog and did it all online that way with the local community. Very nice. I've created a blog for North Lanarkshire Council's Ireland Festival with a ticketing system. Of course, now we just use Eventbrite, and it's so much easier than doing that. Anything I can create a blog for, I'll create it. It's one of those things where I've literally got dozens of them. At the moment, I'll be honest with you, I've kind of got this white theme going just now. These are examples of two of the current blogs. That theme for the Colton SI School has been in use for about a year. We changed it last year. The old theme was retired, and we needed a new theme, and then we just kind of had a whole remodel. And we'll change it fairly regularly. And the other blog is my computer science blog, which I run for my classes, well, at least some of the classes. It kind of stores everything I need to do. And so much choice to look at. Feel free to look at any of these sites. They're by no means sites of excellence. They're just computing sites, ultimately. I'm going to suggest that if you're going to be starting a blog, just do a search for school blogs, best school blogs, put in the name of a school and the word blog after it and see what appears. Have a look at other places round about in your area and kind of base yourself on that. As Marie said, the stuff John Johnson puts up line in the help blog really will help you out and get the things created. So what happened? Well, obviously last year, lockdown hit. And when lockdown hit, we decided as a department, we were just going to go down the blog route. All of our pupils knew where the class blogs were. All the pupils knew how to access the class blogs. Staff knew how to post information in the staff blogs, and therefore it just worked. It was just nice and natural. We just went online, put the stuff in the blog, and it was very much us publishing and the kids sort of doing the stuff, and then they emailed the work into us, and it worked quite well. But obviously, we came back August 2020, and we spent all summer blended learning, because if you remember when we were coming back in 2020, it was going to be a mixture of home and school and half here and half there. Then it all just went up in the air the day before, and we kind of got what we got. So I came back hitting the ground running, training staff and training pupils on Teams and making sure they can use it, working with all my classes, doing assessments and assignments. So by the time the second lockdown hit at that Christmas time, that we had it all working. And therefore the kids knew how to use the software, they could access it, they had it on their phone, it had all been checked, etc. So we could kind of go that way, and we could kind of take part in two-way live lessons. Some of us could take part in two-way live lessons. So it was a great year. I mean, I really, first year with Teams, well, maybe not the first year of Teams, certainly the first year I actually made any success with Teams. Materials were uploaded, staff were upskilled, we had assignments working, and we kind of worked on all year until we got kind of an assignment system we like. And communication was up between class and pupils. We even had teacher-to-teacher teams where we had people doing mental health support and stuff all online with Teams, and it was great. And it integrated in with our office apps, you know, as a business ICT teacher. Then it meant that the business teachers could do stuff inside Word, and it was online, it was the website, and it was just integrated. It was just easy. It was just there. It was great. However, it's a wee bit tarnished this year because some of the things we did kind of made mistakes on. Team names, you know, you call your team third year, and now they're fourth year. And then that third year's stuck in everywhere, and you're trying to pick it out of the OneNote page, you're trying to move it off of this. You know, the fact that we had the team there. And I thought what we'd do is we just take what was last year's hire team and I'll just redo it and it'll just pop up and it'll be great. But the problem was that then all the posts disappear, all the assignments disappear. Yeah, I'm left with the files and stuff, but now I've got the answers to the homework appearing, and it was all kind of hopeless. You know, we were trying to find assignments, and some of the homework was called Homework 1 and Homework 2, which made sense at the time when we set it during lockdown, but it made absolutely no sense when we then try to find them later on. And I've got, one of the things I do is when I do a lesson, I'll go on afterwards and I'll do a sort of descriptive post, and it's got to have notes and I'll have screenshots of what I did on the board and whatever, everything else, and throw it in. And those were all in messages that had disappeared, and I was left with, I've got nothing. And it just proved to be a total pain. Of course, we could find it, you know, if we kept the same blog. But it's a wee bit like trying to find a Facebook post that you're pretty sure your Auntie Doris posted last week and it's somewhere in the timeline. You've not got hope. It's one of those things that just didn't work. So the plan was to make something more permanent, bring blogs back into it, and to use posting the blog and use a link in it. So that's what I did. What I did was I created this, and I don't want to go back because it didn't feel earlier. I put this little tiny thing saying blog up here. That didn't work because no one noticed the little tiny thing that said blog up the top. They didn't read the blog post because it was just a URL. They never really noticed the blog. Nothing sort of changed. I actually found that people weren't reading the posts, whereas previously they had been hitting the like button and stuff on them. They were just pretty much ignoring it. So I wanted automation. I wanted everything to kind of bring back in line. What I wanted to do was to post once, because that's as much time as I had, post once, and then it would just go to lots of different places. I wanted something that other teachers could duplicate. There was no point in doing it for me. There's no point in me firing up PHP and SQL and doing all sorts of clever stuff with coding. And then somebody else says, how'd you do that? And I go, wow, it's really quite complicated. It was pointless. I just wanted something that just kind of worked. I also wanted things in Glow. I didn't want to have to use another website and have to do privacy impact statements and just kind of worry about where's the data this week. I wanted everything in Glow, and it were just to do it. And more than anything else, I wanted to make sure it just kept working, because I've had a number of things that have just stopped working over times where the company that was doing it says they're not going to do that anymore, and I have to find another solution. So what I came up with was this, Power Automate. Now, Power Automate is a free Microsoft product. You'll find it inside Glow Teams. If you just go into the apps, you can just add it in there. There's loads of tutorials online. There's loads of stuff on YouTube, on paper copies. They've even got built-in templates you can use and share. It is a bit officey. It's a bit all about flows and synergy and all that sort of stuff. And although I did a bit of office work before I became a teacher all those years ago, it's too officey for me. It's too business speak. So hopefully at some point we'll get a better education design for it, and it'll just kind of work and do everything we need it to easier. So how do we do it? Well, what you can do is you can use an RSS feed out of your blog. So it does have a tile that you can do WordPress, but the way it seems to work is, obviously, although we've got WordPress blogs built into Glow, we're not on WordPress.com, and it's actually set for WordPress.com. So I'm sure there's something behind the scenes that can get turned on or whatever else, so we could pull it straight from WordPress. But the RSS feed was enough to do what I wanted it to do just now. So you find the feed from your website, and that feed then can be split. And what I can do with this particular example is one post in my blog now appears inside my 4th year team and my 5th year team for the same subject. Okay. Or what I can do is a post to the same blog. I can use a category at the side, so it then goes to the higher class or to the Nat 5 class. So I can use the same blog, but now it's posting to multiple different teams and multiple different channels. And you can get quite clever with it, the more sort of time and more effort you use with it. And that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking to spend a little bit more, because at the moment I get this. I write something on a blog, and immediately, or as close to immediately as the internet will allow, I get the post, and what it comes up with is, you'll see it says from Power Automate. I'm sure we can change this logo and stuff and make it look a little bit nicer. At the top is the title of the post and a hyperlink. So if you click on it, it takes you to the blog. We then have a synopsis, okay, the extract from it, where it just appears on the screen here. And that allows us then to search. So now what I can do is post to the blog, but they can search inside Teams for the words I was using, and it appears inside the team. So what's the plan? Well, the truth is that the excerpts are just a little bit of a pain in the neck. They don't have any graphics. They don't have any formatting. The HTML has been pulled out of it. So I'll need to look through the other bits, get used to the Power Automate lingo so that I can bring it in. One of the things I was thinking about doing was, it is possible to take a blog post or take a website and snapshot it and throw it in a OneNote page. And the idea would be, basically you're creating a class textbook, class revision notes all the time. So what you do is you just tag your blog post with revision or whatever, and it would automatically then throw that into the correct OneNote page. Maybe I'll get to that over the weekend. And what else? Well, for Teams, well, Teams is here to stay. You know, better the devil you know. We've been using this for a while now. We're all kind of used to it. We've got used to webcams and unmuting and all the rest of it. So we're sitting playing about with virtual power agents, or power virtual agents, which I haven't got working yet. It's got the button there, and I've turned it on, but it's just not talking. And that's for automated chatbot. The idea behind that is, maybe what I can do is I can create a chatbot. So when a pupil goes in and they say, right, I don't know what selection is, then it pulls out the word selection, matches that against my course content, and then puts up help posts from that particular area, which would be quite nice. Power Apps is just a more complicated version of Power Automate, which may require a bit more coding, but I'm kind of hopeful that that's going to be useful for pulling information out of the Insight, because at the moment the Insight's great. You know, you can see everything, you do reports, but I was trying to do reports the other day, and it didn't really give me exactly what I want. I could have pulled it off into Excel and manipulated it, but if I had an app that I just pointed at the data and it told me what I want, then that'd be better. So that's for the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. I'm just aware of the time. I know we've got a queue of people, and it's fantastic. There's so much to talk about, but it's just interesting to see, as you're learning, going through and using different things in Glow for different purposes. So you know, it's a bit of a journey. So thanks for filling us in with that. And I'm just going to hand straight over to Fiona and Dale just now. There we go.
Thanks very much, Dawn. Hi everyone, my name is Fiona Stewart and I'm the head teacher of East Calder Primary School. I'm joined today by Dale Murphy, PTC Technology at West Calder High School, and we're going to share with you our collaborative cluster approach to using Glow and Microsoft 365 to support digital transitions for our learners. From the start of primary, our pupils are learning, developing, practicing and perfecting skills that they'll be able to use throughout their lives. The use of Glow and Microsoft has allowed us to support the development of a growing independence in our learners. We're providing them with opportunities and supports to ensure that they take responsibility for their own learning, and that allows them to develop the necessary confidence and resilience to enable them to make decisions about their learning and know how they can use technology to support themselves. Glow is introduced to learners in our school from primary 4. It's the first of 3 main digital transitions for learners, and it's the move from Seesaw, a web-based application, to using Glow for all aspects of schooling. Using Seesaw has empowered our youngest learners to create, reflect, collaborate and share learning with other people, but by the time they start in primary 4 and begin their Glow journey, they're already prepared for and can use creative tools to document their learning in a digital portfolio to share with others and receive feedback. In primary 4, learners are provided with their username and password to access Glow. Their experience of Seesaw, although supported by an adult, has allowed them to practice and develop their technology skills, and by primary 4 it marks a focused introduction to cyber resilience and internet safety. In primary 4, our learners begin their introduction to the tools available through Microsoft 365. They're taught and provided opportunities to develop and refine their skills, how to access Outlook and Sway, how to build on their knowledge of Word and PowerPoint, and at that point, that's when they're introduced to Teams from primary 4. As Sean mentioned, in recent years, the use of Teams to support learning has become increasingly embedded in our practice and has become a core element of our teaching to ensure progression and extension of learning. During school closures, video calls very quickly became a standard part of teachers' communication with learners and keeps the teachers and the learners organised. It also helps us to get messages out to families, and it allows us to manage learners' assignments. Microsoft Teams for primary classrooms has become like a learning hub, with many of our learners being part of more than one team, for example, in their own class, music lessons, additional support sessions and assemblies. There's a number of ways that we're effectively using Teams in primary classrooms to ensure that we're continuing to deliver high quality teaching provision, which motivates and engages our learners to progress and extend their learning. We use the built-in features to effectively hold classroom meetings, collaborate in virtual whiteboards and share documents. With assignments, conversations, files, notes and video calls all pulled together, it's a really great all-in-one hub for a collaborative classroom. In order to ensure that our learners of all abilities are included, understanding the tools and technologies that are available through Teams to improve accessibility and foster that inclusive classroom has become critical. Teams has got built-in capacities like immersive reader, message translation and live captions for meetings, so it becomes a non-stigmatising platform for our learners. Another benefit that we use is the assignments have got built-in rubrics, and we know that rubric grading helps increase assignment transparency for pupils and allows our teachers to provide really meaningful feedback. These feedback mechanisms not only help our pupils learn and improve their work, but they're a consistent and transparent way for our teachers to mark. Then once our learners have become proficient in using Teams throughout primary 4, we introduce them to OneNote in primary 5. OneNote being a multifaceted note-taking tool built into Teams and can be used for a variety of learning activities. With OneNote Class Notebook, they've got a personal workspace for every student and a content library for handouts, collaboration space for learning. Teachers can embed all sorts of apps, lessons and content into the OneNote page. Following COVID, paper notes and handouts became less appealing for anybody to work with, so having a digital notebook for a class became a natural fit. By the time our learners reach primary 6 and primary 7, they've become proficient at using Microsoft 365 and its tools to support their learning. And then what we're looking at is how that ties into the secondary school. An example of how we've developed collaboration across learning within our cluster happens at this second key digital transition. From primary 7 into S1, Glow in Microsoft 365 allows staff to engage with the high school staff. They plan progressions within specific curriculum areas, taking into consideration that some of our primary 7 learners are already working at the similar level to pupils in S1. For example, currently our primary 7 pupils across the cluster all engage in S1 English lessons, which supports their primary school achievement and attainment, but also supports an enhanced transition to West Calder High School. Our primary 6s and 7s also engage in cluster learning with the Modern Languages team. So that's experts in a field who deliver the curriculum in a way that our learners are familiar with, ensuring consistencies of practices across the cluster. Our primary 7 pupils who require additional support also have opportunities to work for the pupil support team at the high school, and those requiring an enhanced transition can identify and meet their trusted adult before they start the school. Above all, the opportunities that are created with Glow in Microsoft 365 are allowing our learners to develop the skills that they are needed to be successful in life and in work. We're developing opportunities for our learners to work independently, but also collaborate with others. And having a standardised approach to using Glow in Microsoft 365 in the cluster primaries and then into the secondary school allows ongoing developments, skills progression and a successful transition for our learners. And I'll hand over to Dale.
So for me, when our primary cluster primaries are then bringing the transitioning the primary 7s into S1, what we're really looking at the secondary level is equity of access. We're trying to ensure that, well, currently in West Calder High School, we operate where every pupil has access to a device, and the digital deployment either comes from the school, so S1 to S3 are issued tablet devices, whereas S4 to S6, our senior phase, are issued netbooks and laptop devices. So that equity access is to ensure that every member of our school community has access to the digital devices that they require. That's for us, that makes the transition from primary so sleek, because the skill that's available and the skill that's taught in primary is standardised across the cluster. For me, I think when we were looking at the tools and we were pretty digital pre-COVID, and I think that was just an accelerator for us. But actually, what it allowed us to do was take a step back and look at it from a whole school point of view. So what we looked at was what applications, etc., were we using across the school, And actually, was there huge disparities from subject to subject, from department to department, faculty to faculty? And what we decided is it wasn't about being all singing, all dancing, but actually it was about stripping it right back and teaching the basic skills here. So we decided that we were going to go an approach, given the fact that we were already using and immersing ourselves with Microsoft Teams pre-lockdowns. We decided that we were going to go fully with the Office 365 tools, and that's exactly what we've done. So now across West Calder High School, you will see every single child using a class notebook or a OneNote for their class jotter. You will see the use of various different applications. I'm thinking forums for assessments, but also forums as a method of retrieval practice, because what we really looked at here was the pedagogical processes, and I'll talk a wee bit about that just later on. For us, it's about putting the kid first and foremost and right at the forefront here. And actually, what do we want, or what do they want, sorry, their experience to be? And the experience there needs to be free from any barriers that are prevented through equipment and through access to digital devices, but also the skill. And that's where Glow really welcomes us here, because it's a device, or sorry, it's a platform that allows the learning not only to take place in the school building, but also at home, and really to inspire that anytime, anywhere learning. So moving through secondary, that our first big transition is actually bringing them up into the school with that standardised approach from our cluster primaries. They then continue through the broad general education, familiarising themselves with more and more of the Glow tools, and taking us on to our second transition here in West Calder High School, which is the transition into the senior phase and the big bad exam period. So at this point, we're using lots of applications available in Glow to really inspire and innovate our learning and teaching. I would go to as far as to say we are definitely on course to be sector leading in learning and teaching across the school. We are reworking and repurposing assessments to make sure they're accessible to all through the accessibility tools that are available through the Office 365. It's about supporting our learners and our learners with social, emotional and behavioural difficulties who perhaps find it more comforting to work in one of our support hubs, are now able to access the lessons through live video streaming that happens in all our classrooms, and they're able to work in other areas of the school, but really still taking part in that lesson and still feeling part of that classroom environment. It's also about tracking and monitoring. Now, I think what we need to get away from here is tracking and monitoring is all about us tracking the kids and us monitoring the kids. But actually, what that's allowed to do is allow them to take ownership of their own tracking and monitoring. I certainly have. I've just been speaking to one of my senior phase classes today, and they approached me to say, you know, I've been going back onto that feedback, and I just don't feel as if I'm making the kind of the jump that I should be reading the feedback. Would you be able to go over that? A previous topic, would you be able to go over this wee bit with me again? Because actually I'm not making the steps forward that I thought I would. So they're now taking complete control of the learner journey, and that's really, really powerful. But of course, and to ensure that we are getting that pupil agency and making sure that our learners feel supported, then we also need to make sure as leaders that our staff feel supported. And we took a cluster approach towards staff development. Something really simple, as you can see on the screen here, is we used a simple Venn diagram where we asked them to have a look at a particular classroom, or a particular subject and level in the secondary phase, and a particular subject area in our primary phase. We asked them to think about a pedagogical approach that they were looking to develop, and then the digital tool that was used to support that. And you can see just some examples of Venn diagrams from a number of staff across our school. We were looking at feedback, retrieval practice. You can see the use of OneNote, forums, again with dual coding, etc. So it's something really powerful. And what was powerful about this is it was no longer that the digital element was the add-on, but actually it was firmly rooted in the pedagogical approach. Finally, as cheesy as it sounds, our future is so bright, it's glowing. But certainly we are looking really forward to the future and using and continuing to use the Glow tools. We've now got up and running. This is where I'm streaming live to you from just now. I feel like I'm a news reporter on placement. But we've got a purpose-built digital lab, which between now and the Christmas holidays, all our primary 7 and primary 6 primary students from all cluster primary schools are going to be taking part in doing a number of workshops run by our STEM leaders here in West Calder High School. And I've got a couple of wee pictures of Let's Get Digital Lab that's purpose-built. We've also started to launch the Digital Skills Academy for our primary colleagues and for our primary pupils, where again this is created by students here in West Calder High School, which provides a range of lessons designed by students for students and really focusing on those Glow tools and Office 365. And what was really magnificent for me, certainly, about this Digital Skills Academy is that this can be accessed anywhere, because we're using a SharePoint similar to how we've designed our cluster approach to CLPL, where we've got a range of kind of videos, text resources, we've got forums all embedded. So it's almost like an in-house CLPL website. That is the same approach that we're taking with the Digital Skills Academy. So I know we've kind of rushed through a lot there, but that's certainly our cluster approach towards really making this digital innovation supported by Glow, and both Fiona or myself will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Fiona and Dale. And you made it the whole journey from primary to secondary there. It was fantastic just to see how much everything's actually embedded, you know, and it's about the learning. It's not so much about the kind of digital element of it. It's facilitating some of that. But no, it was really great to find that journey, or even just the fact that in sometimes, although it's been difficult recently, that kind of acceleration of learning some wee lessons and trying things a different way. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for Fiona and Dale just now, or any of our other presenters. Fantastic.
Preferentially, any questions for the last session, direct them to Fiona.
I knew he was going to try that. Could have predicted it.
That was fantastic. No, I just want to say thanks to all of you for coming along, and I always feel like 45 minutes is not going to be enough time to get a flavour for all the things.
Sorry, Dawn, there's a question there about device availability, like in the primary compared to the one-to-one in the secondary. We have heavily invested, and our digital support team have joined us this afternoon. I'm sure they will support that. As a primary school, we have heavily invested in our digital to make sure that our children weren't missing out because of the kind of disparity between primary and secondary. So we have heavily invested. We prioritised it as something that needed to happen in our school. So that was quite a significant commitment in the budget for us, but we felt it was beneficial. And as Dale said, we're then seeing the impact of that when our learners make it to high school. So yeah.
Well, Dale, I think, yeah.
Just to add to that point, like obviously, like we maybe make it look all showing and all dancing because we've got the tech available, but actually both in the primary sector and our secondary sector, there was huge investment from our own capital budget. And in turn, what the idea was that if we were putting this money into buying tablets, you know, and it's not any kind of more expensive. I don't want to drop any particular brand names here, but it's not the more expensive tablets that we were buying. It was tablets that were just over £100. But when you strip it back and you look at the core tools that are available on Glow and Office 365, then even your kind of lower bracketed devices work absolutely fine for that. So with that investment, I think our original investment, we've just done another investment this year, but our original investment of something around £60,000 got a significant amount of devices for our school.
And thanks for answering that question there just about IT budgets. And yeah, it's interesting just to see how some of that was achieved. And you know, if that's devolved to schools, then you can kind of try and make the best choices for that.
We do still have our capital enhancement budget that comes from the authority every year, but the rest of it is part of our head teacher budget that we're given to allocate, and it was just a decision that we had made as a staff It absolutely wasn't a top-down decision. I think I would have invested in reading books if they hadn't been quite so insistent that this is what we needed to take our school to the next level. So yeah, it was very much a whole team decision, very much empowerment at all levels with that one, that we thought devices was the way forward for us.
Great. I'm not sure if we get cut off in 1 minute time, but again, some really good comments. I'm hoping everyone else has appreciated the time that Marie, Sean, Fiona and Dale have actually taken. You'll be busy. I can appreciate the woman as well. So just to give a bit of inspiration and kind of show a range of different ways that Glow's been used really to support that learning and teaching. So thank you very much, everyone.